All right, so we are continuing our discussion of digital evidence. So really what we are looking for, the reason for collecting digital evidence is not just to show something like an illegal file, like child pornography or pirated software, pirated movies. The idea here is also to show everything that could be associated with the crime. There's a lot of this that's that mere evidence or that is generated when the computer is used as an instrument or as instrumentally. So think about like customer records, account lists, balance sheets, who owes who money, credit card information about people who you've scammed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Planning documents, things like, blueprints to buildings, recipes, and not for cooking, cookies and making steaks. No, recipes like, how to create poison with household chemicals, ways to start a fire and grow a fire without using gasoline, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Alarm system codes, emails back and forth showing, two people trying to plan a getaway, plan what they're going to do. Even your fake documents. Maybe somebody forges some kind of credentials to get into a business, to get into a location, to commit a crime. The list goes on and on and on, but we're looking for stuff that links a person to a crime or to a crime scene. Pictured here is a gentleman by the name of Stanley Mark Rifkin. He's responsible for stealing probably one of the greater amounts of money from a bank in the shortest amount of time. He robbed about $10.2 million from a bank in the course of a couple of seconds electronically. He stole it. He was kind of an idiot, and he ended up getting caught very quickly and easily. If you're interested in reading the story, you can Google his name, Stanley Mark Rifkin, and it's a pretty funny, telling tale, but he's one of the earliest folks who was arrested for electronic theft. So, as I asked in part one of our lecture, do we have the authority to take this? Should we be taking this? Because it's a laptop, it's a cell phone. Is this actually evidence? We're recognizing it at the crime scene, but do we have the authority to take it? So training experience will tell you that people store information on their electronic devices. We all live lives. Most of us probably have some kind of social media presence of some kind or something. And so it's very easy for us to say, well, if I do this, a lot of other average people are doing this, taking pictures on their cell phone of their friends and family, even if they're not posting it online, even if they're not uploading it to social media. It is just how we function in our modern society. And I can tell you as an educational standpoint, the average person is doing stuff on social media, or even if they're not doing it on social media, they're still taking pictures for, sentimental reasons. And people take pictures during crimes also. So, that is a good reason to snag cell phones and digital cameras and stuff like that. And that gives you now the authority to do this. Now, the other issue, though, is the fact that if we're doing something like at a suspect's home and we have issues with a search warrant, we need to make sure that listed on the search warrant is electronic devices. So a good district attorney would be putting these lines on a search warrant. Any documentation associated with criminal activity, any documentation detailing the conspiracy to commit whatever crime it is, and any data storage device that could hold the above listed documentation. Put those things on a warrant, and that gives you the ability to search through the electronic devices to seize those. When in doubt, call your DA whether or not you should be grabbing these things. All right, so most typically we're taking, suspects' electronic devices. It says computers on the screen, but it's everything. One of the big things is we want to make sure that we're keeping our suspects away from electronic devices when they are at crime scenes. And we want to make sure that everybody, when we're going in to do a search warrant of a suspect's home, everybody is aware of the no touch or the no on-off rule. And the idea here is the fact that we just want to be putting this in the evidence bag. We don't want to be clicking power buttons and stuff like that, because that could have effects on the data. And if we alter any data, now we have contaminated that evidence. Our chain of custody is broken. Typically, when we're dealing with like a desktop computer, what we will do is come into a structure and disable the internet for the structure first. This way now all the electronic devices inside of that residence or that business now have no internet connection. not every internet system is easy to shut down. Though you got to figure out where the modems and the routers are and disable them. If they're not readily available, or like say an apartment complex that with the apartment comes free Wi-Fi, you might be in a difficult spot. Talk to senior officers and figure out what their thoughts are as it relates to how to shut down the internet. Then we want to document the room as we found it. So take a look at this scene. If you're lucky, laptops will be up and powered on and open and no screensavers on. We might get lucky. And there are instances around the world where officers have come in suspecting somebody of some sort of crime, and right there on the screen is, the criminal involved in what they're doing, and they just literally take a shot of the screen with their camera as one of their pieces of evidence. But we want to show what the devices are, and take a look at this. This guy's got multiple computers, from desktops to laptops, even the point you've got 1, 2, 3 desktop computers, even though you only have 2 monitors. I should say 1, 2, 3 PCs. This is actually an older Apple product desktop, the Mac Cube. Even though he's got 2 monitors, he's got a switch where he can control the different computers via the different monitors and keyboards. So, a very complicated setup. And if this guy's going to try and mount a defense saying, well, I didn't know that stuff was on my computer, I'm just kind of a computer idiot, I must have gotten a virus. You're not a computer idiot if you're running 4 desktop computers and a laptop, and you've got a KBM switch that is able to switch between keyboards and mice and whatnot. You're a little bit more sophisticated than that. So make sure we're getting good photos of everything so we can show how the room was set up. After we have our initial round of overall mid-range close-ups of everything, now we want to power stuff down if it's able to be powered down. Typically we'll just pull the plugs out of the wall, pull the batteries off the units. Problem is, some of our devices these days, you can't access the batteries. Do what you got to do. You just got to package it powered on, then close the laptop lid and put it in an evidence bag. If it's a cell phone, just put the cell phone in the evidence bag. But we don't want to be clicking any buttons on anything. Be mindful when you pull power cords out of the wall. This is a battery backup device. This is not a power surge strip. So if you see something like this big power surge strip, that's a battery backup, so you can pull a plug out of the wall and it is still going to remain powered up for a while. So pull the power plugs out of the power strips. Then we want to start documenting close-ups of our hookups. So document where all the cables are, even to the point where we oftentimes will label the cables so that we know which cable was where. We'll never put the computer back together perfectly with all the cables, but it's just going to that next level to show your professionalism. Just hope you don't have to label all these cables. Unplug all the cables, seal the devices up, put them in paper bags. If you don't have paper bags big enough, strong enough for electronic devices, fine, then you tape over the ports. That's sometimes acceptable. I would prefer that you just put everything into bags though. Everything goes into bags also, mice, keyboards, cables, everything gets its own bag. Don't just throw a whole pile of cables into the bag. Put everything in a separate bag. Be professional here, folks. Secure your evidence then at your police department and send it off to the crime lab when you get the point in your investigation where you want to get some of that digital evidence back. I do know that a lot of times folks are really interested in computer crime and computer investigations, so I've included a few links here for you too. There's a group here in Wisconsin, the Wisconsin Association of Computer Crime Investigators. They call themselves WACCI, W-A-C-C-I. They are an organization that does allow students to participate to a certain extent, so you can check them out. As I mentioned before, we do have a company here in Wisconsin, Digital Intelligence, that manufactures the devices used at the crime lab for extracting information from computers. So you can check them out. They sometimes have internship opportunities and whatnot. So just kind of something to take a look at if this is a field you're interested in. And then finally, people oftentimes ask, what is the software? How do they get the information off the computer at the crime lab? I'm not an expert in that, but I do know that the #1 software package used by crime labs and the federal law enforcement agencies is a program called EnCase, E-N-C-A-S-E. It is manufactured by Guidance Software. You can check out their website and find out exactly how their process works. they don't tell a whole lot on their public website about how their process works. It's not like it's top secret, but we don't want all the hackers to know what we're doing. But they do offer at least a little overview of how they work. And it's pretty interesting, where we basically make a download of the suspect's device and are then searching evidence in the download, not actually on that device. We're basically making a forensic copy. And Ncase has a really neat system of how they make that forensic copy. And there's something with passwords in there too, that sometimes passwords don't become an issue when you have a forensic copy. Unless, of course, you've encrypted the drive, then you have a little bit of a problem. Which is what happened recently with the FBI and an iPhone, where the phone was encrypted. They were able to make a copy of it, but to use the data, you had to know the encryption key. So they don't have a way around that exactly yet. All right, so that's what we have for our digital crime scenes and electronic evidence collection. As always, if you have any questions, folks, feel free to contact me. Shoot me an email, give me a phone call, stop out here at the PSTC and see me in my office during office hours, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, I will talk with you next week. Bye.